I am Jessica, 35 years old, someone who has always believed that special family moments should bring us closer together. I had looked forward to my parents' 30th wedding anniversary as a rare chance to feel warmth, to reflect, and to cherish one another. But right there in front of all the guests, my parents turned to me with cold faces and said, "What are you doing here? You're not welcome here." Those words fell like a knife cutting through every hope I had held on to my own family. On what should have been a day of celebration, chose to cast me out. Behind them stood my sister, the ever-favored child, her eyes glinting with cruel delight. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I simply smiled and whispered, "Understood." Yet, when a familiar figure from the past walked in, the smugness on her face vanished instantly. The room fell silent, heavy with tension, as if a storm was about to break. And that was only the beginning. Do you believe that the ones we love most are also the ones who can hurt us the deepest? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. I want to hear your perspective. The older I got, the more I realized without me, our family would have fallen apart long ago. Leaky roof, I called the contractor. Mom's car broke down. I paid for the repairs. Dad's medical expenses. My paycheck took the hit. As a software engineer making 6 figures, I could afford it. But it wasn't just about money. It became an expectation. My parents treated me like their personal ATM, and I let them thinking that was what family meant. Meanwhile, my sister got a free pass. She was an influencer, all filters and glitter on Instagram, but her bank account was as empty as her promises. My parents adored her anyway. Her charm, her photos, her so-called brand. They bragged about her to the neighbors while I was the one wiring money to keep the lights on. It started small. At 25, I paid off Dad's credit card debt, a $10,000 because he swore it was a one-time thing. It wasn't. By 30, I was covering Mom's hospital co-pays, their late mortgage payments, even my sister's phone bill when she forgot to pay it. At first, I didn't mind. I thought I was helping. But every time I handed over money, my sister would roll her eyes like I was showing off. She'd post about her Malibu photo shoots while I was stuck debugging code to fund her lifestyle. My parents never noticed. They'd say she's building her career as if my job was just a side hustle. Last year, Mom called me about their 30th wedding anniversary. "We want something special," she said, her voice brimming with excitement. "A big party like the ones in magazines." I agreed. I thought it would be a chance to bring us together, maybe even earn a thank you for once. I was wrong. My sister jumped in, tossing out ideas as if she were planning the Oscars. A live band, imported flowers, a coastal resort in Santa Barbara. She had a vision, but not a dime to pay for it. "You've got this right," she said without looking up from her phone. I nodded already, calculating the hit to my savings. I booked the resort, a stunning venue with ocean views, famous for hosting high-end events. The deposit alone was $5,000, all on my credit card. I coordinated with the manager, arranged catering for 100 guests, and secured a string quartet for the cocktail hour. My sister kept adding to the list a custom cake, a photo booth, even a floral arch that cost more than my monthly rent. Each time she'd say, "It's for Mom and Dad." And I bit my tongue. My parents backed her up, let her shine. Dad said as if I were just the logistics grunt. Mom chimed in. She has such a creative mind. Creative maybe, but I was the one signing the contracts. Soon, I started noticing things. My sister dodged my calls whenever I asked about her contribution. She'd text back vague promises, "I'll chip in later," but later never came. My parents didn't care. They'd gush about her latest sponsored Skynair post, while I sat on hold with the florist negotiating delivery fees. It stung, but I pushed through. I wanted the party to be perfect, not for me, but for them. I told myself they would finally see me, not just my wallet. By the time the plans were finalized, I'd poured $20 into the event. My sister hadn't paid a cent, and my parents hadn't offered. I was used to it. Their gratitude always went to her, never to me. But something felt different this time. There was a tension I couldn't place, like they were hiding something. I brushed it off, focusing on the details, table settings, guest lists, sound checks. I kept telling myself it would all be worth it when I saw them smile at the party. That was my mistake. I didn't know that the very party I had sacrificed everything for would become the stage for their betrayal. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. My sister's carefree attitude. My parents' blind favoritism. It was all right there, plain as day. But I was too busy playing the good daughter, the reliable one, to notice the cracks. That changed the moment I received a message that turned everything upside down. With the party just weeks away, I dove into the details to ensure everything was perfect. I called the Santa Barbara Resort daily, confirming the layout for 100 chairs, the sound system's volume for speeches, and the timing for the cake delivery. The manager walked me through the schedule: cocktail hour at 6:00, dinner at 7, dancing by 8. I'd already paid a $5,000 in deposit, my credit card taking the hit, and signed contracts for catering and a string quartet. My sister kept texting new demands: a vegan menu option, a spotlight for the dance floor, extra staff for a photo booth. Each one added hundreds to the bill, but when I asked her to cover something, she'd reply, "I'm curating the aesthetic." Curating. I was the one juggling invoices while she posed for her followers. I tried talking to Mom about the costs. "Don't upset your sister," she said, her voice sharp over the phone. "She's putting so much heart into this heart." I was coordinating with vendors while she was picking filters for her stories. Dad was no better. "Let her have her moment," he told me during a call, as if my effort was just background noise. I pushed back, mentioning how she hadn't contributed a dime. "You're the responsible one," he said, like it was a compliment. It wasn't. Their words felt like a script they'd rehearsed for years. Always shielding her, always expecting me to carry the load. I swallowed my frustration and kept working, checking the resort's table linens and confirming the bartender's license. Then I noticed her evasiveness. I'd text her about the budget and she'd leave me on red. Once I called and she picked up sounding annoyed. "I'm swamped with collabs," she said, then hung up. Collabs. I checked our family's shared bank account set up for things like roof repairs. It should have had $20,000 from me. The balance was $5,000. My stomach dropped. I called the bank, heart pounding, and asked for a transaction history. The clerk confirmed multiple withdrawals, hundreds for clothes, thousands for a weekend getaway, all tied to my sister's card. A $15,000 gone. I texted her, explained the account. Her reply, "Relax, it's under control." It wasn't. I called Mom and Dad, hoping they'd step in. "She's just borrowing." Mom said, her tone dismissive, like I was overreacting. "Don't cause a scene before the party." Dad added, "You've got the means, Jessica. Can't you handle it?" Handle it? I'd handled their mortgage, their medical bills, now their party. I pulled up the bank statements on my laptop, my hands shaking. The withdrawals weren't random designer shoes, a hotel in Miami, a car down payment. My parents had access to the account. They'd seen the same statements, but told me to keep the peace. Their loyalty to her was a wall I couldn't break through. I wanted to confront her, but the party was too close. I spent my nights double, checking the resort's lighting setup, ensuring the vegetarian enter were prepped, and confirming the quartet's song list. Every task kept me sane, kept me from exploding. My sister, meanwhile, posted a teaser about the event of the year, taking credit for my work. I was ready to let it slide. Just get through the day. Make my parents happy. Then my phone lit up with a message from Sheila Ramsey, an old friend of my sister's I hadn't spoken to in years. "We need to talk about her." It read, "She's been lying to you." My pulse raced. This was bigger than I'd thought. The message from Sheila sent a chill through me. I hadn't seen her in years. Not since she and my sister drifted apart after college. I replied, suggesting we meet at a small cafe in Santa Barbara, a quiet spot away from prying eyes. A week before the party, I sat across from Sheila at a corner table. The smell of coffee doing little to calm my nerves. She looked hesitant, her fingers tapping the edge of her mug. I didn't want to get involved. She started, her voice low, "But she's gone too far." She slid a folder across the table stuffed with papers that would change everything. I opened it, my hand steady but my heart racing. Inside were screenshots of texts between Sheila and my sister dating back months. I lent her $2,000 for a business deal. Sheila explained, her tone bitter. She never paid me back. The text showed my sister promising repayment, then dodging with excuses. "I'm waiting on a sponsor, or next month, I swear." Next came receipts, online purchases for luxury sunglasses, a spa weekend, even a deposit for a leased BMW. Then the real blow bank statements from our family account highlighting withdrawals totaling 15,000. My contributions were in there meant for home repairs, not her shopping sprees. Sheila pointed to a date. She withdrew $5,000 in last month alone, she said. I tracked it because she tried borrowing from me again. I stared at the numbers, my throat tightening. It wasn't just the money, it was the betrayal. Sheila leaned forward, her eyes sharp. She's been doing this for years, she said, lying, borrowing, spending. I thought you should know before the party. I nodded, unable to speak. The evidence was undeniable, but I needed to be sure. I thanked Sheila, tucked the folder under my arm, and drove straight to my bank. The clerk confirmed it all. Multiple unauthorized withdrawals, all linked to my sister's card, some as recent as 2 weeks ago. I asked about my parents' access to the account. They get alerts for every transaction, the clerk said. My stomach twisted. They'd known all along. That evening, I called Mom and Dad, hoping for some shred of accountability. I laid it out, the missing 15,000, the receipts, the texts. She's been reckless, I said, keeping my voice calm. Mom's response was instant. Don't stir up trouble, she snapped. She's under pressure with her career. Pressure. I was the one funding their anniversary while she blew our savings on a car. Dad jumped in, his tone softer, but no less infuriating. Just let it go, Jessica, he said. We'll sort it out after the party. Sort it out. They'd seen the alerts, known about the withdrawals, and done nothing. They were protecting her again, like always. I pressed harder, asking why they hadn't stopped her. Family comes first, Mom said, as if I wasn't family, too. I hung up my hand, shaking with anger. I sat in my apartment, the folder open on my coffee table, staring at the evidence. My sister's lies, my parents' complicity. It was all there in black and white. I thought about confronting her right then, dragging the truth into the open. But the party was too close. I'd spent months planning, poured my savings into it. Canceling wasn't an option. Not yet. But letting her walk away unscathed wasn't either. I closed the folder, my mind racing. Sheila's words echoed. She's gone too far. She had, and my parents had let her. I wasn't going to let this slide. The day of the party arrived, and I was at the Santa Barbara resort by noon, checking every detail. I walked through the banquet hall, ensuring the centerpieces were aligned, the microphone levels were set for speeches, and the catering staff had the dessert menu on schedule. Everything was perfect, just as I'd planned. I'd poured my heart and money into this, and for a moment I let myself believe it might finally earn me some respect. Then I saw my parents near the entrance, their faces tight. Before I could say a word, Mom stepped forward, her voice icy. You're not supposed to be here, she said. Your sister told us you've been causing trouble. Trouble I'd paid for every detail of this night. I glanced at my sister standing behind them. Her arms crossed, a smug look on her face. She says you're stirring up drama, Dad added. His tone clipped. You're not welcome. The words hit like a punch. My own parents at the party I'd funded were kicking me out. Guests nearby turned, their conversations faltering. I kept my composure, my voice steady. Is that what you think? I asked, locking eyes with my sister. Her smirk flickered, but she doubled down. You've been spreading lies about me, she said loud enough for the crowd to hear. You're jealous of my success. Lies I'd spent the last week with Sheila's folder, burning a hole in my conscience. I wasn't going to let her rewrite the narrative. I turned to the entrance and nodded. Sheila walked in, her expression calm but unyielding. The room went quiet. My sister's face drained of color. What's she doing here? She stammered, her voice cracking. Sheila stepped forward, holding the same folder I'd seen at the cafe. Tell them, she said, her tone sharp. Tell them how you took 15,000 from the family account. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My sister's eyes darted to our parents, then back to Sheila. That's not true, she snapped. But her hands were shaking. You're making this up. Sheila didn't flinch. She opened the folder, pulling out a bank statement and holding it up. These are your withdrawals, she said. Clothes, trips, a car deposit. Want me to read the dates? The guests leaned in, whispering, their eyes darting between us. My parents tried to intervene. This isn't the place, Mom hissed, grabbing my arm. I pulled away. No, I said, my voice louder now. You knew about this and told me to let it go. Dad's face reddened. Keep your voice down, he muttered, glancing at the crowd. But it was too late. The whispers grew louder. Phones were out recording the chaos. My sister tried to salvage it, stepping towards Sheila. "You're just bitter," she spat. "You've always been jealous." Sheila didn't budge. "I lent you money. You never repaid," she said. "And I'm not the only one you've lied to." The tension was electric. Every guest hanging on their words. I stood back watching my sister unravel. She'd built her life on appearances, and now it was crumbling in front of everyone. I didn't need to say more. Sheila's evidence and her own panic were enough. The air in the banquet hall was still buzzing from the confrontation. I stepped away from the crowd, my heart pounding, but my resolve firm. I found Emily, the resort manager, near the catering station, and her clipboard in hand. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos behind me. Emily raised an eyebrow but nodded, leading me to a quiet office. I didn't waste time. "I'm withdrawing my credit card from the event," I told her. "Cancel all payments." Her eyes widened. "That's a 500,000 deposit," she said, checking her records. "And the remaining balance, another 15,000, is due today." I nodded. "I'm done covering it." Emily hesitated, then picked up her phone to call the vendors. I stood there watching her dial, knowing there was no turning back. Within minutes, the catering team got the call. They started packing up, pulling trays of appetizers from the tables. The string quartet stopped tuning their instruments, their manager shaking his head as he spoke to Emily. "No payment, no performance," he said loud enough for guests to hear. Whispers turned to murmurs as people noticed the staff dismantling the dessert station. The party. My parents' perfect anniversary was unraveling. I felt a pang of guilt, but it was drowned out by the weight of everything I'd carried for years. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect. My parents stormed over, their faces a mix of shock and fury. "What are you doing?" Mom demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut through the growing chaos. "You're ruining our day." Dad grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "Fix this, Jessica," he said, his tone low but desperate. I pulled away, meeting their eyes. "I've been fixing things my whole life," I said, my words calm but firm. "I paid for this party and you kicked me out because of her lies." My sister pushed through the crowd. Her makeup smudged, her voice shrill. "You're so selfish," she shouted. "This is about Mom and Dad, not your grudges." The guests fell silent, their eyes darting between us. I took a deep breath, turning to face the crowd. "Let me set this straight," I said, my voice carrying across the room. "My sister took the $15,000 from our family account, money I put in for our parents' home, their bills." I held up Sheila's folder, the one she'd handed me at the cafe. "She spent it on clothes, trips, a car, and they knew." I pointed to my parents, who froze. Gasps echoed through the hall. My sister's face crumpled, her hands clenching. "That's a lie," she screamed, but her voice wavered, betraying her. A woman nearby muttered, "I knew something was off," and others nodded, their phones still out, capturing every word. Mom tried to salvage it. "This is a family matter," she said, her voice pleading. "Don't air our business like this." But I wasn't backing down. "You told me to let it go," I said, looking at her. "You covered for her. Both of you." Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. The truth was out, and the guests were eating it up. Their whispers now a low roar. The catering staff left through a side door. The quartet packed their instruments, and Emily approached me, her face grim. "Without payment, we're shutting down," she said. I nodded, feeling a strange calm. The party was over. And so was my role as the family's doormat. My sister lunged forward, her voice breaking. "You're destroying everything," she cried, tears streaming down her face. I looked at her, unflinching. "You did that yourself," I said. The weight of those words settled over me, heavy but freeing. I walked toward the exit, the folder still in my hand as the hall descended into chaos behind me. This wasn't the end, but it was a start. By the next morning, the fallout was undeniable. Emily, the resort manager, called me with a clipped tone. "The vendors are furious," she said. "They're out 10,000 for unpaid services, catering, music, decorations." She explained that the catering company and the string quartet were preparing to sue, and my sister's name was on the contracts as the point of contact. "They're coming after her," Emily added, her voice heavy with frustration. I didn't feel sorry for my sister. She'd spent our family's money on her own whims, and now the consequences were hers to face. My phone buzzed with texts from Mom. "How could you let this happen?" She wrote her words dripping with blame. "You humiliated us." I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. Humiliated them. I'd funded their celebration only to be thrown out on her word. Dad called an hour later, his voice gruff. "You need to fix this, Jessica," he said. "Apologize to your sister and pay the vendors." I laughed a bitter sound. "I'm done cleaning up her messes," I said and hung up. They'd spent years shielding her, ignoring her lies, and now they wanted me to take the fall. I wasn't playing that game anymore. By evening, the story was everywhere. Guests had posted videos of the confrontation on social media, tagging my sister's influencer account. Clips showed her shouting, denying everything while Sheila held up the bank statement. The comments were brutal. She stole from her own family. And what kind of sister does that? Her follower count dropped by thousands overnight. Brands unfollowed her, and her latest sponsored post, a skincare ad, was flooded with accusations. She tried to post a vague apology claiming a misunderstanding, but it only fueled the fire. People dug deeper, reposting screenshots of her lavish trips and designer purchases, linking them to the stolen money. Her reputation as an influencer was in tatters. My parents weren't spared either. A local gossip page on social media picked up the story, and soon posts were circulating about their role. They knew she was stealing and did nothing. One comment Reed shared hundreds of times. Neighbors who'd attended the party chimed in, calling them out for favoring one daughter while shunning the other. At a coffee shop the next day, I overheard two women discussing it. "Those parents should be ashamed," one said, shaking her head. I kept my head down, but inside I felt a grim satisfaction. They'd chosen to protect her, and now the community was holding them accountable. My sister called me that night, her voice trembling. "You've ruined my life," she said, tears choking her words. "The vendors are threatening to sue me." I stayed calm, my response measured. "You took the money," I said. "You signed the contracts." She sobbed, begging me to cover the 10,000 to make it go away. I refused. "Figure it out," I told her, and ended the call. Later, Mom sent another text accusing me of tearing the family apart. I didn't respond. I drove back to the resort to collect my belongings, the place now eerily quiet. Emily handed me a refund check for part of my deposit, her expression sympathetic. "I'm sorry it came to this," she said. I nodded, tucking the check into my bag, and walked out. The weight of their blame lingered, but I felt lighter than I had in years. I'd carried their expectations for too long. And now I was done. The truth was out, and the consequences were theirs to bear. I had my own life to rebuild. Weeks after the party collapsed, I made a choice that changed everything. I sat down with my accountant and severed all financial ties with my family. No more shared accounts. No more covering their bills. No more bailing them out. I closed the family fund I'd contributed to for years, the one my sister had drained for her own gain. It felt like shedding a heavy coat I'd worn too long. For the first time, I put my money into myself, my apartment, my savings. A weekend trip to clear my head. I started therapy, something I'd avoided for years, and began unraveling the guilt I'd carried for being the family's fixer. I wasn't their hero anymore, and that was okay. My sister's life unraveled differently. The catering company and string quartet followed through on their threats, filing lawsuits against her for 10,000 in unpaid services. She tried to dodge the legal notices, but the resort's contracts had her name, not mine. Her lawyer sent me a letter suggesting I share responsibility since I'd initially funded the event. I didn't respond. She'd made her choices and I wasn't cleaning up her mess anymore. On social media, her influencer career was dead. Her follower count plummeted to under 1,000 and brands dropped her like a bad habit. Comments on her old posts were ruthless, calling her out for lies and theft. She posted a tearful video claiming she'd been misunderstood, but it only drew more scorn. I didn't watch it. I'd seen enough. My parents faced their own reckoning. The community's judgment didn't let up. Local forums and social media groups kept the story alive with posts dissecting their favoritism. How do you let one daughter steal and blame the other one? Viral thread Reed shared over 1,000 times. Neighbors stopped inviting them to gatherings and their church group grew distant. Mom called me one evening, her voice trembling. "We're the talk of the town," she said as if I could fix it. "You need to make this right." I stayed calm, my words steady. "You chose her over me," I said. "Live with it." Dad sent a text later asking me to reconsider for the sake of family. I left it on read. Their silence during her theft had cost them my trust. I moved forward, finding peace in small things. I took up hiking, spending weekends on trails outside Santa Barbara, the ocean breeze clearing my thoughts. I reconnected with old friends once who didn't expect me to solve their problems. Sheila reached out, checking in over coffee. "You did the right thing," she told me, her voice warm. I nodded, grateful for her honesty that started it all. At work, I threw myself into projects, earning a promotion I'd put off chasing to deal with family drama. My life felt lighter, like I'd reclaimed space I didn't know I'd lost. The lesson hit me slowly, but clearly boundaries weren't selfish. They were survival. I'd spent years trying to hold my family together, thinking it made me strong. But strength wasn't carrying everyone else's weight. It was knowing when to let go. Cutting them off hurt, but it freed me. I didn't need their approval to be whole. My sister's lawsuits, my parents' disgrace. They were consequences of their own making. I'd given enough. Now I was building a life for me one step at a time. And the peace I found was worth every sacrifice.